First of all, hearty welcome and hello to all the readers and the listeners and watchers of Salomé's newsletter. It is a privilege for me to be part of Salomé's setup and to have been invited to actually make a small contribution towards her monthly newsletter. My name is Bahlmann. I work for a firm with the name of Roux Incorporated, which for a very long time was mostly involved in defendant work, basically meaning that we were the guardians on behalf of the Road Accident Fund to ensure that the taxpayers' money gets allocated in a very fair manner towards the claimants which were deserving of such monies. I've been at the firm since 2013 in capacity as a professional. I also did my articles of clerkship with Roux, which commenced in 2009. And I'm very proud of the firm as well as the work that we do. In terms of my area of specialization, our firm basically does just about any kind of work, which ranges from commercial work, contracts, including conveyancing. My area of speciality and expertise lies within litigation. I've always enjoyed public speaking. I've always enjoyed a public platform to opinionate, and now one has this wonderful opportunity to do that in terms of law, not only in terms of acts but also in terms of rules of the court. Up until today, I don't think I'll make any kind of a career change. It's been incredibly satisfying, and I must honestly say, I think very rewarding. In terms of vision and mission, it's always been very important for me to align myself with Roux principles, basically meaning that we should always ensure that we are extremely well prepared in terms of at first advice as well as preparation all the way through, like I previously said, in terms of the actual legislation and in terms of the rules of this court, or at least the court that we are litigating in. And then to ensure that preparation actually leads to success as we originally envisioned for our clients. We also envision to do this in terms of a very cost-effective manner. I think that it is one thing that attorneys sometimes tend to, how shall we say, I wouldn't say disregard, but let's rather say to put on the wayside. It is very important to ensure that the value is also in terms of monetary value, to ensure that cost effectiveness is in line with the outcome of any form of litigation. The whole litigation landscape has changed quite considerably in the past, let's say year and a half, 18 months, where COVID played a role in expediting some significant changes in terms of litigation. I think the most important thing that we've all realized was that litigation was very archaic and was not very technology friendly, if we can put it that way, where certain courts worldwide eventually started moving towards a more electronic platform. We were still stuck with a paper system. In our high courts, we have now switched over to what they call the case line system, which enables the practitioners to exchange papers electronically and for all papers to actually be prepared in terms of indices and bundles in an electronic format. I think that is a massive step forward. And to actually add to that, these days most of our trials, unless we are directed by a judge differently, are held on a Zoom or a team platform, basically meaning that our hearings these days are completely virtual. We think it's a step in the right direction. I think there's a couple of, how should we say, challenges that we've had, but they are being overcome, and I think up until now this approach has been nothing but quite impressive. In terms of a firm's mission and vision, I think it's very important, especially from a litigation point of view, that there should be a enthusiasm to embrace the changes that we see in litigation at the moment, especially with reference to my earlier mention of electronic platforms. In that regard, I can actually proudly say that our firm has invested heavily in terms of facilitation of electronic exchanges, in terms of interaction with our clients, even interaction with our opponents, as well as interactions with court. I think it's something to be proud of, and although I think in the beginning a lot of people were adverse to change, this is slowly but surely changing, and I'm happy to say that perhaps due to our firm being in business very much as long as Salomé's firm, has always been very enthusiastic for embracing such change, and I'm quite proud to be part of that. In terms of my interactions with Salomé, I must honestly say it's always been extremely positive. Since my days of being an article clerk, I think my first pre-trial conference with Salomé was circa 2009, and I always found it to be extremely professional. I must honestly say, extremely well prepared. It's actually a pleasure having an opponent such as Salomé. Nothing leaves wanting in terms of the application of good legal principles, and you can see from the inception when you deal with Salomé that there is a deep understanding of a client's needs, especially with reference to a personal injury practice. She really embraces the whole concept of understanding a client. Where does the client come from? How does the client operate, or how did the client operate before, let's say for instance, a event that occurred which led to action being instituted in the High Court, or whichever court is applicable under those circumstances. And she continuously reaches out to see what the impact is after the incident. I must honestly say that from the matters that I dealt with Salomé, there was a constant feedback, whether it was at a pre-trial conference or whether there was a personal meeting elsewhere, that I must honestly say that even as the opponent, because remember, as I'm working on behalf of the RAF, you don't get to see the face, you don't get to see the person behind the actual injuries. And it was quite enlightening and it was quite informative to actually be on the forefront of what was happening with that person. Salomé is extremely vigorous in her preparation in terms of appointing the correct experts. Overall, I think third-party litigation is actually very satisfying. It's multidisciplinary. You get to deal with many specialist doctors, you get to deal with specialist psychologists, you get to deal with actuaries that are all involved in some sort of process which eventually leads to the quantification of a claim. And I can commend Salomé for how she actually involves the correct experts to ensure that the quantification is indeed correct, and to ensure that the client gets what they deserve, but also at the same time ensuring that the taxpayers' money is dealt with in a responsible kind of manner. Salomé is very tenacious. I think that I've never seen her relinquish the tenacity, which is quite impressive. There is no such thing as a volume practice with Salomé. She really reaches out to each and every one of her clients. I think Salomé is quite an example to us as to how to deal with your matters professionally, finding the time for being an extremely good attorney, and then also finding the balance of ensuring a good family life. And I think perhaps as a side note I can say Salomé has been incredible in finding that balance of ensuring that she literally is top-notch in both her professional as well as her personal life.